Welcome back to your nightmares, my children. This is Mr. Midnight speaking. I welcome you all to my humble abode. Today, we will be talking about Jeff the Killer, who needs no introduction. But before we begin, make sure you like and subscribe, because if you do not, I will send Jeff after you. Now buckle up, and always remember, the darkness always follows. I will now leave you with my narrator, so enjoy.
Jeff the Killer is a creepypasta character who is said to have murdered his entire family and then began randomly killing people, often while smiling and whispering, "Go to sleep." He is known for his ghostly white skin, black eyes, and a permanent grin on his face. He is also said to be able to manipulate reality and control people's mind. He is often portrayed as a supernatural being who cannot be killed and continues to haunt and kill people in their sleep. So this is Jeff the Killer. You wake up at 3 a.m., disturbed by some subtle shifting sound within the room. Just on the edge of hearing, propping up on one arm, you survey the room looking for some source for the noise, hoping beyond hope that you won't find one. At first, your hopes are raised. Everything seems to be silent. Everything seems to be still. But it isn't. From behind the long concealing drape of the curtain, a voice with flickering serpentine hiss whispers, "Go to sleep." Suddenly, you know what's about to happen and exactly who is waiting to meet you. As recognizable and widely known as he is feared, Jeff the Killer, the villain of numerous stories littering the internet, is one of the best known and most widely referenced creepypasta characters to have emerged from the shadowy corners of the web over the past few decades. But exactly who or what is this infamous denizen of the darkness? Where did the character come from? How has it evolved? And from which horrific pit of hell of the internet did that haunting image emerge? Let's delve and find out. Firstly, for those unfamiliar with the character Jeff the Killer, the most widely known creepypasta on this character can be found on the internet anywhere. The story is usually linked to a version of this image in which the character is shown to be noseless, with bleached white skin, a leering permanent grin, and lank black hair. For those wanting a quick overview, the story of Jeff Killer goes something like this. At 13 years old, Jeff moves with his parents and brother Louis to a new town. Here, Jeff and his sibling encounter 3 bullies and are threatened with knives. Jeff beats these bullies badly, with Louis taking the blame for the assault and being carted off by the ever-reliable police. Guilt-ridden and depressed at having let Louis take the blame for his action, Jeff's day gets even worse when he meets the bullies again and is horribly burnt in an attack with alcohol and bleach. This burning results in Jeff being permanently disfigured, his skin bleached white physically, whilst his mind snaps. Upon being discharged for some reason, his doctors apparently attributing Jeff's insane behavior to the painkillers he is taking. Jeff arrives home and proceeds to make a bad situation worse by purposely mutilating his already disfigured face, cutting a permanent smile into his mouth and cheeks and burning off his eyelids so that he can always see his face. Jeff then goes on to kill both his parents and his brother Louis, meeting him with the instruction, "Go to sleep," before stabbing him and disappearing on a wider and less discriminating killing spree, which it would seem continues to this day. According to the creepypasta explanation, Jeff's fixed grin is due to scarring he inflicted upon himself. His eyes stare wildly because he burnt off his own eyelids, and his skin is lily white as a result of having been horribly burnt by bullies with a combination of alcohol and bleach. The photograph that accompanies the many Jeff the Killer stories, and which looks like a cross between Michael Jackson and a demented dolphin, is widely known not only from the many derivative creepypastas using the character, but due to its widespread use in screamer videos alongside Jeff's famous catchphrase, "Go to sleep." However, it seems that the details of exactly how Jeff the Killer ended up with his hideous appearance corresponding as they do to this image were retrofitted, the rationales being written to match the image rather than the other way around. As with many creepypasta characters, there seems to have been an ekpharistic element to Jeff the Killer's creation. And what the hell does that mean? Well, basically it means based on or inspired by a work of art. Now, whilst most wouldn't look at the image of Jeff the Killer and regard it as art, it is commonly agreed the image upon which the story of Jeff the Killer is based actually predates the words making up his story, meaning that the creators began with the creepy image and went from there. The story was written to fit the picture. Therefore, to really get a handle on the origins of Jeff the Killer, it is first necessary to divide the investigation into two parts. First, we need to look at the origin of the image of Jeff the Killer that accompanied the original story, not to mention the many derivative stories and memes that have evolved from it, and then look at where the story that grew out of the image came from. Interestingly, the original Jeff the Killer image and its origin has developed a mythology all of its own, with various competing theories and bogus explanations being put forward. Let's have a go at unpacking them. The first noted appearance of the famous image is from way back in 2005 on Paya.cc, a Japanese message board. The image later appeared in a Japanese YouTube video, NNN, a clip identified by some as Scary Film Project, in which names and ages of future victims are listed. The video was uploaded in August of 2007 and features a fleeting glimpse of Jeff the Killer's image, which can be seen on screen at the 4 minutes 11 second mark, followed by the words, "Good night," which may be an early incarnation of the famous "Go to sleep" catchphrase with which Jeff is associated. Now, this video without a backstory or explanation existed before the story or even the name Jeff the Killer surfaced seems to confirm that it was indeed the image that came first. The association of the image with the name Jeff the Killer or any related title came in 2008 when a user on the forum Newgrounds uploaded the image using the name Killer Jeff with the somewhat dubious claim that the image was a self-portrait depicting him. Shortly following this first association of the photograph with the name, the first incarnation of anything resembling an actual story of Jeff the Killer and featuring the now famous image was a video uploaded by Cesar on October 3rd, 2008, with some sources claiming Cesar and the previous Newgrounds uploader Killer Jeff to be the same person. The original video, which notably contained music by Pixies, which may have been the reason the video was eventually removed, has been claimed by its creator as the original Jeff the Killer origin story, and indeed does predate the most well-known creepypasta version of the table. Additionally, it is worth noting that Caesar has been critical of the details given in later incarnations of the story, insisting presumably in reference to his original concept of the character that bullies were not involved in the accident that led to Jeff's altered appearance, but rather that he slipped on some soap whilst carrying acid he intended to use to clean the drains in his bathroom. Cesar has also pointed out in his version Jeff does not kill his parents and brother, and even has a different real name. The later creepypasta incarnations, Jeff the Killer, the story it is based upon, is also somewhat convoluted in history. Despite being very popular, the original version uploaded in 2011 was derided by many as being weakly told and of low quality, with many insisting that the story did not meet the quality or assurance standards of the site. It was eventually moved from Creepypasta to a sister site dedicated to badly written creepypastas. However, owing to the popularity of the character, this removal prompted many users to simply re-upload the story in an attempt to placate these fans and to establish a better version of Jeff's story. A competition was launched in 2015 to create a remake. The winning story, which exists in an longer version and a shorter version, was written by Banning Kellum, and this is the version which most people today are familiar with. Whilst this all explains the backstory of the creepypasta tale itself, the question remains, where did the image come from in the first place? Here is where fact and fiction begin to blur, with even the photograph's origin being obscured by half-truth and myth. For some time, it was believed the photograph was a Photoshop manipulated image of a girl identified as Katie Robinson. The story went that this young girl, who was considered by some internet trolls to be overweight, was eventually driven to suicide by online bullies. Her image was then photoshopped and used as the basis for the most widely known Jeff the Killer image. It's a tragic story which, though it exists entirely separately from Jeff the Killer creepypasta, lends Jeff's image of the bleach-skinned, wide-eyed smiler an even more sinister aspect and a legitimate reason to find that image unnerving, depicting as it did not only a deceased girl but a victim of the same species of bullying that the fictional character endures. Unfortunately, or actually fortunately to be honest, this story also turns out to be nonsense. The Katie Robinson story and the entire idea that the Jeff the Killer image used the photograph of a deceased girl as its basis has been debunked. The girl featured in the photograph, alleged to belong to the unfortunate Miss Robinson, is actually a girl named Heather White, who has confirmed that the image alleged to have been manipulated has nothing to do with the famous image of Jeff the Killer. Another theory which has gained traction in recent years is that the original photograph was of an unnamed Stickham girl. This girl, who is alleged to have been crying for attention, was said to have used images in which the flash from the camera or monitor illuminated and overexposed her face, giving it the bleached out white appearance familiar from the Jeff Killer images. Her image was subsequently screenshotted and adopted by another anonymous user, who then posed as her using a photograph to ask, "Am I pretty?" Responding to what seemed to be naked self-promotion or hunting for sympathy clicks, viewers of the image gradually added to a thread in which they manipulated the image so that it gradually became more and more distorted. These Photoshop images are believed by some to have evolved into the original Jeff the Killer photographs. Well, that's one theory at least, and currently the one that seems to be given the most credence. Other theories as to the image's origin are that the root image is in fact simply a manipulated photo of Jeff the Killer's original poster, Cesar, wearing a latex mask. This is actually what he claimed, though the fact that the image has been identified in videos and other sources a number of years before he posted his story makes this claim seem somewhat unreliable. as is the theory that the image is a manipulation of the overly attached girlfriend meme because of the similarly wide-eyed and smiling pose. This theory can be debunked almost immediately, owing to the fact that the meme in question features an image from 2012, meaning that it came into existence long after the earliest known version of the Jeff image, and indeed the original Jeff the Killer story. So far, the farthest back anyone has been able to trace the image is to a Japanese site called pya.cc, where two versions of the image were found. Both faces are noseless. The one has added contour shading around the eyes and the area where the nose would be. It has also been noted that the two images have different eye shapes, with one looking more like the eyes from a stuffed toy or cartoon character.
Well, my children, thank you all for listening. I hope this filled you with fear. No matter if this is a creepypasta, I will still send Jeff the Killer after you. Do not worry, because he does exist. Thank you all for listening. And always remember, the darkness always follows.